Hi, I'm Rob Pryor. Welcome to Basic Anatomy and Famous People. Okay, before we actually get started, I want to explain just a little bit about myself. I've been airbrushing for about 11 years and teaching for about 5. When I very first started airbrushing in malls, doing shirts and things like that, until my skill increased by using some of the techniques that I'll be showing you here in this video, until my skill increased so I could do covers to different books and science fiction magazines and things like that. And I've also done quite a bit of my fair share of commercial artwork. Now you can see some examples of my work here all around me. Some of the things that you're going to be learning in this video are the different strokes, for how to use frisket, how to do masking, how to use mixed media. I'll be explaining mixed media here in just a second. Another thing is we're going to be learning about the airbrush itself, the maintenance, how to troubleshoot. If something happens and you get some paint that clogs up in the airbrush, you've got to be able to know how to take it apart and put it back together and make sure that if something happens you can actually get it back to working. If you can't, then you're not going to be airbrushing for very long. Okay? The other thing is I'm going to be showing different airbrushes. And maybe you'll see an airbrush on there that you might want to use. You might think, wow, well, he's using something different. This will give you a little bit of an idea about some of the different airbrushes that are out there. The very first thing that we'll be covering is techniques. How to use the airbrush to create gradations and how to make it use dots and lines. You'll be using all these basic techniques. We'll also be covering an arm. How to do the anatomy of the arm, how the arm should look, where the colors should be placed, and how they should be layered over top of one another to create veins and all the different colors that are in the human skin. A hand. How to make the nice creases in the hand. How to make it look very realistic and very lifelike. Then we're going to be moving on to faces. How to use loose masking to create some of that either hard edge or soft edge. How to layer color over top of color. How to combine the hair and the eyes. All of these things are very, very important. And whether you're an advanced airbrusher, beginning airbrusher, you've got to know the basic techniques before you move on. You've got to have full grasp of it. And that way you can make yourself a much better airbrusher. Now what I meant by mixed media is using different media to create and make your airbrushing better, to enhance your picture. That's what it's all about. It's making a very lifelike picture, making sure you could actually reach out and touch an arm or touch the hand. Mixed media meaning using color pencil work, maybe using paintbrush, an X-Acto knife. It doesn't matter. Anything to enhance your project. Okay, all these techniques that I'm going to be teaching you are mine, and I hope you can combine them with your own, become a better airbrusher. Here we are in the studio. Before we actually go ahead and get to the projects, I want to show you a little bit about the airbrushes and the paints that I use. The reason is, in case you want to go out there and you want to try some of these airbrushes, you want to try some of these paints, you'll be able to approach and know a little bit about them rather than just going in blind. First, a little bit about how you're going to hold the airbrush. All right. What you do is you want to place it right there on that finger, put your thumb in, hold it like that, put your finger on the trigger, push down for air, pull back for paint. Okay? If you pull all the way back, you're going to obviously spray much more paint as if you don't. Let me explain now a little bit about the airbrushes themselves. Here we have the Vega 2000 by Thayer Chandler. Notice the cutaway right there. And also, if you pull that back, it's a lot easier to go ahead and clean that tip off. Okay? We have the Crescendo by Badger. And this is one of the new guys for them. Notice the different design as compared to some of their older brushes. And also, they've got right here, it's a little easier to take apart. Notice the trigger, it's got a nice easy pull to it. Next, we have the Aztec. It's definitely a different design. It's a plastic body. You still push down for air, back for paint. Then you can adjust your paint settings right back here, single or for double. Then you have the Iwata HPC. It's a gravity feed, which means you put the paint right in here at the top. It's got a slightly larger reservoir right in here, and it flows straight through the tip. For some of the bigger projects, we have the HP BE2 from Iwata. Okay? This is for much larger surfaces. And we've got some of the big boys, some of the big guns. Okay? This is the iWater round tip, the RG2. And the Badger 400. Okay, hold it just like that. Okay, let's set those down. I'm going to go in a little bit about the paints. We'll be using, here we go, Medea transparent. Okay, this is for board work. Golden fluid acrylic. New guy on the market here for fluid acrylics. This goes great through the airbrush, and it's fantastic for board work. They've got some great colors. And Createx. Okay, this is for shirts and for board work. Now it's come time to take apart the airbrush, to learn to troubleshoot it. What you need to do is make sure that no paint and nothing gets in there and messes it up. And if you can't take apart the airbrush and put it back together, you're not going to be airbrushing for very long. Okay, this is the Aztec. What we're going to do is going to take off the head assembly, right like that. Put that down there. Take out the pin. Now remember, this is for left and right. All you got to do is block that up. We'll take that piece out. They send you a little cleaning tool, which looks just like this. What you're going to want to do is put the front end in there, twist. Wipe that off. Turn to the side that you use most. Put it in there. Twist. The cup that comes with it, also because of the simplicity of the design, is very easy to disassemble. Pull it apart, wipe out the inside, wipe out the outside right here, put it back together. Put the head assembly right back in there. You want to make sure it's screwed in there pretty tight. You don't want any air leaking out of that. Put the pin back in. And there you have it. Now let's move on. Okay, here we are. We're going to study some of the techniques that will be used in the upcoming videos. Now these are very important to get a grasp on because this is what's going to enable you to be able to paint the projects that I'm about ready to show you. Okay, let's get started. So you just first get your airbrush. What you do is you get real close to the board or far away from the board. Just open it up all the way. What I mean by that is take it, pull it back all the way. See? Now, if you're getting a little bit of spit there, spray it into your hand, okay? So you can see that at home there. And what that does is use your hand sort of as a rag almost. Just spray it in there. Okay. Now move a little closer. 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 That's giving you a little bit of control and a little bit of feeling for how far you should be away and how far back you should pull. Okay, a couple things you got to watch. T-shirts and board work are very different. A t-shirt will soak in the paint, so you don't have to really worry about this, all that splatter or spider webbing it, okay? What you're doing is, this is like a hot press. What this means is the paint will not soak in so much. Now, this is a precision line by Crescent. There is another board called cold press, and there's different numbers and different things. You have to take a look and try what you like. But that's a little bit more porous, and the paint soaks in a bit more. Okay, well, the first things you should really concentrate on doing is finding a point where you can make a nice line. Now see, I should have sprayed that in my hand there. Make a nice line, okay? Find a point and find how far back it's going to take. Now, another thing is I've got very shaky hands. I had a lot of people out there do. Sometimes I'll steady the brush with two hands, sometimes I won't, it depends on how I feel. Sometimes I'll even rest my pinky on the board and guide it along. Okay. Okay, start at a point. What you want to do is get a continuous line. Now I'm standing a little off to the side here, so it's a little harder for me to get that, but that's what I'm talking about, see? Nice continuous line. Let's say you have to catch into your line somewhere. Starting in. See, you don't want to do this. You don't want to come outside of your line. You don't want to go, you don't want to have it thicker. You want to try and catch right into that line, make a nice even line. Next is dots. There's two ways to do dots. Now remember, these are techniques that I'm showing you that are mine. or that I've used and I've seen over the years. Take them and make them your own. Try different ways so it makes it easier for you. Okay, dots. You can put dots where you start your paint and stop your paint. Or you just leave your air on and pull that brush out like that. What I'm doing is I'm leaving the air on and pulling this out, just like this. Short, quick strokes. Okay, be careful of your spider webbing. Like I said, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Believe me, all professionals make mistakes, beginners make mistakes, we all make mistakes. That's not the point. It's just learning how to control your mistakes. Okay, another move like that is you can start and you can make lines as you're moving along. You can start and stop, actually more like dots. Or you can leave your air on, make a nice stroke like that. See what I mean? Just leave the air on. And what I'm doing is, as I'm putting my paint down, I'm pulling this back, the air on, and pulling it back, pushing it forward, pulling it back, pushing it forward. And you can shorten those up however you want. Another quick little practice thing is you want to take a couple dots. Make your dots. Make your line connecting those dots. Okay. Now, we're doing a pull stroke. What I mean by pull stroke is as you're coming in, okay, line, as you're coming out, you're not only pulling away from the board, but your finger is moving down, lessening the paint. Lessening the paint, see? Less right there. Lessening the paint right there. My finger's moving forward now. My finger's moving forward now. See what I'm saying? The finger's moving forward, you're stopping the paint. Now that can be used in circular. See, you can get a nice thing. You're using blades of grass. Sometimes I leave the air on. Sometimes you can do it like this, single strokes, shut your air off. Or leave your air on, just like that. A sister to that is the dagger stroke. What you're doing is you're coming in a circular motion, like this. You're coming into your board, and as you come in, you put the paint on, pull away, same thing as that. You pull away and you pull your finger back. Paint on, paint off. Okay, see what I'm saying right there? You come in, leaving the air on. Oops, try not to hit your board. Just like that. All right, I'm going to go into a little bit of gradation. Okay, this is not fast food. It's not just now, now, now. Make it slow. Build your first layer of paint on there, and then gradually build it up. And as you're coming back, you can either pull your hand away or lessen your paint, whatever you feel. Again, darken that up, pull back, pull back, pull back. A nice gradation from light to dark. Let's go ahead and put another color in there. Color transitions. Okay, make sure your paint's working, make sure everything's going fine. And what I said, spray into the side. Now, you don't want to gut in there, you don't want to get too close because you're going to get something like that, and that's going to be hard to gradate. Okay, again, that nice light color, that nice blend, see it? Okay, now, as you get into the color here more, you blend and pull back. And you blend and pull back. You blend and pull back. Until the two colors blend into each other. Okay, let's start using a couple of different tools here. First thing we're going to do is talk about loose masking. Okay? What you want to do is take a piece of plastic. This is Durlar, made by Graphics. Cut it to the shape that you want it, using your X-Acto knife. Peel it apart. Now I've already pre-cut a nose here, and we're going to go ahead and use that. Okay, what you want to do is you can lay it flat against there. Now let me try and get my body out of your way so you can see there at home. And you create a hard edge. Or you can hold it away. It's not quite such a hard edge. And as you pull it back farther, it's a softer edge. Closest, you get a hard edge. Okay? The next thing is frisket. It's a lot like contact paper. It's the thing, things that you put on your shelves. What you do, it's got a little waxy back here. See? What you do is you're going to pull it off. Go ahead and stick that right on there, just like that. Take your X-Acto knife. Go ahead and cut a shape out of it. Spray into that shape. Pull it away. Nice hard edge all the way around it. The next thing is also liquid frisket. Okay, liquid frisket is exactly like frisket, except for it's in liquid form. Oops. Pick that back up. Take your brush. Go ahead and put it on. Make sure you rinse your brush off real thoroughly. Now you can mix this and you can shoot this through the airbrush also, if you get the right liquid frisket. This is liquid frisket by Graphics. It's real nice thin liquid frisket. While we're letting that dry, we're going to go over templates. All right. Template is the same thing as a loose mask. You can spray it in there. Perfect circle. Now, there's a mistake here. Make sure you tape these off, because if you don't, see, you get all this extra. You don't want that. Other thing about this, just like another loose mask, you can hold it away and make it softer. Another tool just came out on the market, the multi-rail. What you do is you place your airbrush right along the edge, put your fingers here in the groove, the pinky. Look at that, a perfectly straight line. Okay, also, if you want to just create an edge, you can create like a starburst just by using an edge of something. All right, let's spray over that liquid frisket. Give that just a second to dry. All right. What you want to do is you can go ahead and peel up that liquid frisket. Oops, paint wasn't quite dry, I smudged it there, but notice the edge of that liquid frisket, the edge that it gives you. All right, another technique, scribbling. What I call it that is, I use this one quite a bit on a lot of things I do, is I just go in there, get to the side so you can see, I just start scribbling like that. Or if you want to do it maybe a little lighter or a little bit more spotty, all I'm doing is moving my airbrush around like this and getting that little scribbling in there. You'll see all these techniques later on in the videos. Okay, a couple things to cover real quick. You can use colored pencil right over top any airbrush work, especially on board work, or paintbrush. Okay, it's exactly like the airbrush in a lot of ways, except you get a harder line, but you know, you pull away just like that. Okay, those are the techniques we'll be using. Let's get on to the next project. Here we're studying the human anatomy. We're studying all the colors that exist in the human anatomy. We're going to be learning how to layer the paint in order to get a very realistic tone. And that's the goal. Okay, I'm going to point out a couple of things right off the bat. Use photos. Photo references constantly. Always be aware of the different colors that are in them. Another thing is, something I've explained in every video. I'm showing you my techniques, the techniques I use on all the paintings that you've seen earlier in all the videos. I want you to make sure you apply some of yourself into it. Everybody's different. Everybody has different techniques. What may not work for you may work for me. I'm here to show you what I do. If you like the exact way I do it, fine. If not, I want you to be able to apply everything that I've shown you. Okay, let's get going here. What I've done is I put raw umber hue in my brush. Now this is all frisket over here, and I've already blown this up and frisketed it off. Okay, I'm going in and applying a base coat of brown. The reason is I want to sculpt out my shape that I'm going to be having here. Okay? I want to make sure that I know exactly where my shape is going to be and where my structure of my shadow is going to lay. Now, let's go ahead and flip down to where the brown has already been done. Now I'm going to show you a little bit on this right here. Now on this, I'm using the Aztec. It's another new brush on the market, and I like the different color changes, and there's another reason that I've shown you why I'm doing it this way, and what brush I'm using, so you can go out and maybe try some of these brushes and try some of these paints. All right, cutting in here, you notice I've cut all this in. An important thing to remember is watch the veins, okay? That's part of making this realistic, is making sure your veins stick out there just about right. We're just getting in there, carve a little bit away. Notice I'm shading underneath it. Take a look at your picture, okay? Make sure you're not getting, when you're doing your vein, you're not outlining a vein. Veins are not outlined. Veins are simply bumps in the skin, shadowed on one side or shadowed on another. Okay, going ahead, applying some more of the brown in here. Now, again, why I'm laying down this brown here, this raw umber hue, so I can lay out where my shadows are. Another thing, very important, make sure your edges are covered. Okay, I'm going to flip again here and try getting this moving on pretty quick for you. You see what I've done here is I have my own color of flesh mixture. What I do is I add red, yellow, and white till I get the color I want. Now there are millions and millions of colors in the human flesh. Millions. You've got to come in there and you've got to pick out. Some of the colors I'm going to tell you to use are going to be a little different, but I want you to try everything you can possibly try. Okay, and what I've done is I've gone in here and I've blended some of this flesh color. Now notice how nice and deep that I'm starting to get that in there. I'm taking that and blending it over top of some of that brown. And don't be afraid to apply it, okay? We're using a very painterly technique here. Okay. Definitely a painterly technique. Now I'm going ahead and filling this up. Now I switched here to the Iwata HPC. I do a lot of my board work with gravity feed cup because I like the way that it points down. It's a little heavier up here. It's a quicker chamber. But I also use a lot of different brushes. Find out what brushes are working good for you and what ones do certain things and what ones don't. Okay. We're going to switch back here. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and use a light brown. Now this light brown is a Createx light brown. Okay, this is straight from the bottle. Now originally I had another brown color in there, so there we go. There we go. Right there. What this is a good transition brown. Okay, now I'm looking up here, I'm saying, all right around there. I'm sculpting that away. I'm blending all that in there. Get a good transition from that dark brown, then that overlay of flesh that was over that. I'm trying to get a real nice shade in there of a tan arm. That's what we're doing here. We're making this a nice shade of a tan. Now again, be careful of the veins. You don't want to outline them. I can't stress that enough. If you start outlining, you're not going to achieve the effect that you want. The other thing is when you got creases in the skin, you're going to come in here just like that. Okay? Don't be afraid to get real close to that brush. Use a couple techniques that we learned earlier in the video and come in and shade them off a little bit. Notice how that's starting to get like a real brilliance to it? That's what you want. And once again, I'm going ahead and changing colors. I'm going to a burnt orange. Okay, again, this is a Createx color that I found that I really like to use. A lot of people think Createx is just for t-shirts. I use it a lot on my board work also. Okay, notice now, what this burnt orange is doing is this is adding just that again, that brilliance, that deepness that we want to see here. We want this to be very tan, very deep, very nice tone. Now don't be afraid to go over the frisket. I've explained this in other videos. Use that frisket. That's what it's there for. It's creating that edge for you. Okay. Now, parts of this I think are just a hair orange. So
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some yellow. I'm going Dairy Light Yellow from Golden Paint. Okay? The reason I'm telling you the names of the different products is so if you go to a store, you know what colors I've used. You know exactly what I've used and why I've used it. Adding a little bit of yellow in there. Get some different color. Again, stop this, pause this video right now. Turn on the light or turn on a nice bright light. Take a look at your skin. You'll notice that there is so many colors. There's magentas, there's blues, purples. Okay, now I've just switched to more of an Indian brown. What I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead, now paying attention to the video, the arm here, going ahead, getting some nice deep highlights in there, or deep shadows in there. Okay, this is a very red-brown. Well, got a little bit too much there. We'll go back and fix that with some of the highlights. See, that's the thing, is you can't be afraid to make mistakes, because the second you become afraid to make mistakes, it's already gone. You've got to be able to do it over and over until it's correct. There's not a professional out there that doesn't make a mistake. All right. I think what we're going to do now, I'm going to stress another point. And this is a point that when you're using a painterly technique, when you're going over colors and over colors to build that brilliance, that vibrancy, don't bury it with black. A lot of airbrushers are out there and they're taking it and they're spraying black and it's just dulling it down and you're not getting all that vibrancy because black is a very dull color. Now, unless it's mixed with something else. Here, I'm not even mixing anything else at the moment. I'm going with purple. Actually, violet. Nice dark violet. Now, I happen to be using the golden violet at the moment. But there's some really good shades of violet. That's sort of a color that if you're going to be using it, you can pick it on your own. Again, now I'm really not pleased with that area right now, but we're going to come back into that, cut into that a bit. But you notice that taking the place of black, I'm going ahead and I'm spraying some of that purple in there. Right over top the brown. Getting some of that. Now I'm going to go back in with the original color of raw umber over top that. Now I'll spray it out of that. One thing I like about the Aztec is you got some quick color changes for your color cups. It sprays out quick. Really like that. Now you notice it looks like black, but that is not black. It's a purple-brown mixture. That's all it is. But you don't lose the vibrancy of the color. The color is in there. Okay. Now, we're going to flip this here one more time. Actually, we're going to switch boards. Get to the arm. Now, I've already added some highlights here. Okay? You'll notice them. But I'm going to point them out right now. Again, notice in here, I'm going to go ahead and add a few more. When you're rinsing out, when you're spraying your brush, the reason I'm spraying into this rag is because I'm trying to clean out all my colors. Okay? I'm trying to make sure that they're sprayed out so I'm not spraying all kinds of other colors in there. Now, I'm hitting a little bit of highlight on my vein, right there. Hitting a little bit of a highlight right in here on the muscle. Right here. What your highlights do is they bring your painting to life. That's the lifeblood of, especially the human flesh. Highlights. Notice the light shining on my arm. That's what brings it to life. It shines. It's brilliant. And go in here, hit your highlight points, and hit your veins. Just like that. Now, I'd really like you to listen to everything that I've told you so far. I'd really like you to understand the use of the colors, the millions of colors that are out there, and practice spraying color over top of color using the techniques I've shown you. We'll be going through other things in this video, but this is the human arm. Good luck.
Okay, now we're done with the arm. Now we're ready to move on to the hand. Rather than concentrating on this part of the hand, which would be just like the arm, I'm going to concentrate on the creases right in here. So you can get a little bit of that right in there. Before we do that, we have to cut some Durlar. Okay, what this is it's loose masking. It's not quite like frisket. I believe I explained a little bit of this earlier. You're going to be able to blow a little bit of paint under that. Now I'm just going to cut pretty much a wavy, sort of wavy. Okay, if you take a look at your fingers, you have just a pattern. Okay, so if you cut just some obscure pattern, you'll be able to get it. Okay, just like in the arm, we're going to start with some raw umber. Now you notice I started here. Best thing to do, move some of those bumps around, just like that. Now you can go in, get really close and get in there tight. As I'm creating, I'm going in on where I sprayed over. I'm going right inside there and getting some of the creases. Same here. Let's go ahead and grab this, spray it on. What you're doing is you're getting like the inside of all the creases in your hand there. Now again, I'm going to remind you, this is the basic, so there's a lot more you'll be able to do with it. I'm going to get a little bit more advanced on this one. All right, now you can take a look. You've got some lighter creases down in there. That's up to you. Get the edges. Remember, it's like I always say, it's not a line, it's an edge. So you're going to go ahead and spray the outsides of the fingers there. Come in. Now you can use the same thing right down here. Getting some of that right in there. Let me hit some of that with some shadow. Right around the cuticle right there now. This particular hand that I'm doing here is coming off of a painting that was used in the ad. And I'll be showing you the painting here in just a second. Now if it starts sticking a little bit, like it was just starting to stick on me, go ahead and open up. You got frisket over here. Again, don't be afraid to spray on it. Very, very important. Again, I'm not going to play around too much down here because we'd just be reiterating the hand, and I don't believe that we really need to do that, or the arm, I should say. Now, once again, we're going to take some of this flesh. We're going to spray it right over top. Just like that. Get some of that. We'll go down a little bit into that. Okay, if it starts to stick on you a little bit, just go ahead and get that out. Okay. Now, if you got to clean your tip, all you got to do is go in there with a rag, clean that out. If you have to, you can spray right into your hand to see if it's working. Come back on. Okay, we're going to switch the color a little bit here. Okay, just again, like in the arm, we're going to light brown. Spray that color out. Spray it right into your rag. As I'm spraying out all that dark brown, there we go. Now, if you take a look which way the light's hitting, you'll be able to shadow and shade right on the top parts. You want to go right over top of the line right there. And again, blend some of that darker brown in. Bring it more to life. Come on down here. Right around. Down, hit your edges. Now if you get a splotch like that, that's all right. You can be able to hide some of that with highlight. Again, if you make a slight mistake, don't worry about it. You know, relax with it. Let's get in there. There we go.
So that's starting to blend in together a little bit more. Now, if you need to, you can make a few lighter lines with this color. So that'll just sort of go up there. It's not a heavy color. Right there. All right. Now I'm only really concentrating very hard on these two colors over here. I'm going to spray just a little bit of yellow in there. It's Dairy Light Yellow from Golden. Okay. Now, before I get to any of the actual highlights, I'm going to go ahead, once again, spray a little bit of brown in there. Get some of those darker colors. Okay. Now, it's important with this, you get some highlight in there. Now, I was talking about mixed media. Here I'm using Spectracolor pencils. Going in there. Actually doing a little bit of work with the pencil, get some fine line work. If you take a look at your fingers right now, you'll notice that there's all kinds of lines in there. We're just going to try and go get some of them right here. Trail them off. Get some light flesh. Once again, make sure it's sprayed out. You don't want to muddy that color up. You want that color to be correct. Go in there on top, right in between your lines, just a touch. Right in there. Add some highlights. Highlights there in the top finger, right around the cuticle a bit. Right in there. If you get a little splotch, just go ahead and start to hide that a bit. If you're done with your highlights, you might want to go back to a light brown. Go in there, right back into your creases. Make sure some of those creases stay there. Go back into some of your highlight work. All right. I'll do one more quick thing. Pop that down. Pop this back up. Just going to do the fingernails very quickly here. Okay, first I'm going to start with a scarlet red. It's a very orange red. Spray them solid. Now I'm going in. Now that was like I said, a very orange red, a very yellow red. Now I'm going to go in with a burgundy, which is a very cold red. Where we go. Notice I'm shading that right around where the cuticle would give it a shadow. Now again, remember, this is the basic video. The brushes I'm using, right here is the Thayer Chandler Vega 2000. And the other one was the Aztec. I'm clearing out some of that flesh color. Okay, going to a little bit of white for the highlight. Right on the edge of the nail. And to show you the finished piece, presto. There we go. You'll notice here the highlights, the line work I used, all the different colors, and the reds, the highlights on them.
there's the basic hand. You've got all the information you need to create the line work, but take some time, take a look at your hand, take a look at all the little lines, and practice using some of that mixed media. Get some of that pencil work in there. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Ready to move on to the next project. Okay, now we're getting ready to get to the end of our video. We're getting ready to do the hardest part, the human face. Okay, in this part, we're going to be going over a lot of loose masking. Let me explain a few things. The difference between a famous person and just doing a regular face is just your control of the colors. We're going to be combining all the techniques we've used so far, all the way from the beginning to the arm, using all the colors. We're going to be using the hand, the creases. We're going to be using all of this. Okay? Let me get to another thing that we're going to be doing. We're going to be using a lot of loose masking. Okay? What loose masking does is it allows to be able to create an edge, but it's not that hard frisket edge. It's a softer edge. You can hold it away. Some of the paint can go underneath, so you can create just a slightly softer edge. I'll tell you a couple techniques that I use when I'm using some loose masking. This is Dular plastic. It's slightly thicker. What I try and do is I label them. You can see that the handwriting is not all too good, but I label it top and I label it bottom. The reason being is, if I can read it, read what it says, I know it's on there right. So it says bottom. I can find it very easily. Bottom. When I'm doing the lips, I don't cut out the whole lip and then put them on there so it has a hard edge on the top and a hard edge on bottom. What I do is I cut out the middle line right there like that. I have a top and I have a bottom for that. What we do is we use that to spray and not create that hard edge where it makes it look like lipstick. See, the lips are the same color as the human flesh, except for just peel a couple layers of skin off, you've got pink. Okay, let's take all these right over here to our little workshop area. All right. Now, I talked about mixing flesh and mixing the color of flesh up earlier. We'll go over it one more time. It's white, yellow, red. Now you can combine other colors to make it like a cool flesh. We're adding blues, greens, purples. In this instance, we're using a nice light flesh. Okay, here's what I mean by using the loose masking right here. You'll notice I hold it down. Now if I want to hold it a little bit farther away, as long as you got it's set, you can use it a little farther away. I'm going to hold it a little closer for this because that's the technique that I want. Then if I don't want it to be quite such a hard edge, I go ahead and spray over top of it. The airbrush I'm using here is a micron, Iwata micron. I'm going ahead and spraying all this. Now I want to go ahead and get the sides here. Notice I'm using this right here. I can read it. It says bottom, so I know that's the right one. Notice the edge that I create. Now, if you think that's a bit harsh, you just go in with a little bit more flesh, soften it up. Same with the lips. Now, when your light's hitting you, you notice that your upper lip has the shadow right here. So what we want to do is we want to darken that right up there, just a bit, just like that. You can see how that's darker? It starts to give it more dimension. And let's do some sculpting here. What you're doing is you're forming the base of what you want your face to look like. Just follow that edge right along there. You notice it's darker up there. Now, you should work with a photo, but I've done this face so many times and so many different shots that I've basically got it memorized. When you get to a point where you can start memorizing the face, well, that's where you want to be. Especially, but though, when you're beginning, you want to use a photograph. You want to keep using it. Here we go. Yeah. See how that's starting to take form? Now, whenever I show something, like on the arm I showed earlier, I didn't have any white from the board show through. Instead, I covered it all with that flesh and that brown, and I started bringing out my highlights. Well, here, I'm not spraying quite as much. I'm letting some of that white from the board come through. So I'm using some of that natural white. Each project is going to be different. Everything that you do, you got to try different ways. Maybe on the arm, maybe you want to try it this way, instead of covering the whole thing and then building out your highlights. Using more of a painterly style. It's all up to you and how you want to do it, but I'm going to show you a little bit of different techniques in each one. Okay, let's pop this down here just for a bit. Advance it just a hair. What I've done here so far, and right now I'm using the Aztec also, is I put light brown in there. Okay? Now you notice I've already started building up a lot of my colors here. Now this has got some purples and stuff, and I'm going to get to that. But we're using light brown. So what I'm doing is, notice here, I'm coming up here. I'm going to use this again. Is this the right one? Nope. Here we go. So once again, make sure you know which one goes where, because if you don't and you start using the wrong loose masks, you're going to end up with lines that just aren't correct all over your picture. All right. See that right there? Let me step aside here just a little bit for you. Use that brown to darken it up a little bit right there. Notice how that's creating like a nice round edge. The reason I'm using light brown is because it's just dark enough to be like an in-between between your dark colors, and you're starting to build it up. You don't want to go instantly to as dark as you can get, okay? What you want to do is you want to build it up. Again, it's a slightly different technique than I've showed before, but this is what I'm talking about. You want to be able to use a lot of different techniques and build up anything, build up your own library of techniques so you know where to place it. Each project is always going to be different. A couple of the other videos I'll be talking about doing chrome, and I'll be talking about doing glass. Again, even though you may use some of the same techniques that you're using on flesh, it's not going to be all the time. So that's why I'm saying you've got to know a lot of different techniques. And that's why I've been trying to show you a bunch of different techniques in this video. Okay, you want to get up real close here. Use some of that brown, define some of that eye, define the lid. See what I'm talking about right there? Take a look at that. That's what I'm talking. You got to get close enough where you can define it. Get some of that nose in there. Right there. That's all by using this light brown. Okay? Same with on the lips. Now you want to go in sometimes right on the lips here, and you want to use very thin lines. See what I'm talking about here? You want to get the lines to the lips. If you have to touch the airbrush to the board and do it, as long as you've got your control, that's another technique we went over a little earlier. Go ahead and do that. Darken up the sides here. You notice right around, now go take a look in the mirror, or go pull a friend over, your family member, whatever, and take a look. There's some shadow right where the smile lines are right there. You're going to find some shadow. Make sure you pay real close attention to that, because those are the things that help bring things to life. Okay. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to switch color just a bit. I'm going to go to a darker brown. Now remember what I said about using black? A little trivia question for you. Don't use it. It's going to deaden things out. If you're going to use black, you mix it with another color, and you then use it that way. But I'm not going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to show you how to build without using black. I very rarely ever use black. Okay. Notice how I'm darkening up? I'm starting to slowly darken it. Another thing is build it up slowly. You don't need to build it up real fast. You want to build up real gently, real slowly. If you have to go in and darken it, you can darken it. It's easier to darken than it is to lighten. Okay, we're going there. If you want to make some of those lines. Now notice, I'm resting my hand and pulling it slightly across the board. I'm not grinding my nail or finger in there. I'm just pulling my hand across very evenly.
Again, I'm using two hands to steady my hand right here. See, notice that? Okay. Sometimes, like I was saying before in some of the other videos and probably earlier in this video, I hold this out. It just depends on how steady your hands are, how confident you feel. It's right here. Okay, right here. This line that I put that light brown, I'm going in. I want to use some darker brown. Other thing is I'm going to freehand this eyeball. Your freehand techniques are just as important as your frisket techniques. Okay, you get a little bit of spider web there, that's okay. If you mess up a little bit, do not worry about it. Go along with it. Like I always say, professionals, beginners, all alike, you're always going to mess up. You get used to it. No one's perfect. All right, we're coming right in here. Notice using that dark right in there. Building it up nice and slowly. Yeah, we could use it like right around here. Let's pull that across here. Darken that up a bit. There we go. A little cleft in the chin kind of thing. Now I'm going to go to purple. Just like in the arm, I'm using that purple to do two things. Using it to darken the brown. Using it to bring out slightly different color. So I've used it already right in there, but I'm going to bring that down there now a little bit. And there, maybe on the lips a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take some orange in here. I've already done that a little bit. And your brush is just sort of, yeah, that orange will come out here soon. Spray it in the rag or go ahead and spray it onto the board. Again, don't feel, like you've got to stay away from spraying this frisket. I spray on it all the time. Okay, we've got some red in there now. Now, I've already went ahead. We don't want that. Whoops, we're going to go back and hide that in just a second. Like I said, you're always going to make mistakes, but you can always hide them. All right there. Notice how that's already red. I'm just going in there. You don't want to make it look like lipstick, and then you come down, put your highlights on, and it evens itself out. Throw a little bit of red in those shadow recessed areas so it doesn't, so it has some vibrancy. That's why I'm throwing the red in there, so it has vibrancy. Okay, if you got a little bit too much red, what you do is you go to yellow. Notice, like I said, look in the mirror, look at your arm. You've got yellow in your skin, you've got brown in your skin, greens, blues, you name it. Notice what I'm talking about here, though. Because adding the yellow that I was using right there is a dairy-lyed yellow, golden colors. The light brown is the light brown from Createx. The reason I'm telling you, again, the reason I'm telling you the names of these paints is in case you want to go out and you want to go home and you want to try this and you want to use the exact same colors and you want to try it the exact same way. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you the names so you can go ahead and do that. I put some light flesh in there now. Getting that brush to go ahead and clean there. Now, if your brush ends up having a little bit of problems, that's okay. What we'll do is we're going to go ahead and switch back to using the micron just for a second there. Move that out of the way. Get the spray bottle. Go ahead and spray it in there. There we go. See what I'm talking about? Just go ahead and spray it right in. Okay. Using just a little bit of lighter flesh. Go in there. So you can start adding your highlights. See? Same with right here. You get your lips. I'm going to put just a little bit of highlight in there. Yeah, your eye. There you go. Okay. Now we're going to flip it. All right. Now you can see I've done quite a bit here. I went ahead, used some darker browns in there, used some purple, start bringing it out. Went ahead, started bringing all this out down here, added the right highlights to the lips. The lips could use a little bit more highlight there. Couple of things. When you're doing the hair, don't be afraid to use mixed media, okay? What I mean by that is don't be afraid to use the paintbrush to create, the hairline, stuff like that. I'm going to show you a little bit right now. You don't have to do everything with the airbrush, okay? You're using a dark brown here. Go ahead and put that in. So you can get some nice thin lines there. So you can use your airbrush. But I suggest also, start learning to use a paintbrush. Say you want to come in here and you want to put some highlights in, okay? Well, you want to go ahead and do that. If it's too bright, take your finger, pull it through. See? Look at that. You want to get a little bit of darker paint in there. Go ahead and get some brown on your paintbrush. Yeah, that's a little too much. Go ahead and use your finger. Again, use your finger. There we go. You can pull it right on up there. Use that same technique all the way through. You want to get a slightly lighter brown in there. Just go ahead. There we go. See? You can pull it right across. Pulling it right in there. Create hair. Now hair is not a lot of straight lines and a lot of straight patterns. You notice your hair is messed up. You've got some highlights, stuff like that. So try not to make it all directions. A lot of people come up to me and say, how do I do hair? And they got all the straight layer and it's all the way across. It's the same thing. Hair's scraggly. No matter you don't have perfect hair no matter what you do. Another technique, using the X-Acto knife, using it like a scratch board to pull away paint. And create some nice highlights there. Might want to move it around like that. Notice how nicely that just pulls some of that paint right up and you get some of that highlight in there. Again, right here, you want to create some more highlights. You don't have to grind your brush, and this is something not to do. You don't want to take it, okay? Just gently pull your brush. Notice I'm holding it so it's just the point. See what I'm talking about? Right there, just the point. Okay, pull it right there, pull it down. Get some movement to it. Now let's say you put a little too much highlight in there, okay? Take some brown or whatever color you want to put into it. Get back a little bit, miss it. Let's say just like that jagged edge right there, or some of the edges you put in too much. Go ahead and respray them. What you're doing, see, look at that. Still get that nice sheen to it, but you've just changed the color. That's all. It's still there. Your highlights are still there. You're just changing some of the color. That's all. Okay. Now what I want you to really, really pay attention to is the same thing. You can use the paintbrush right here. You can use the paintbrush on all of it. I want you to pay attention to mixing your media. I want you to use the stencils to get used to it. Use all the techniques. Use all the colors. Purples. Flesh has a lot of greens. Experiment. It's the biggest thing. I want you to experiment. I want you to make the flesh and all the colors and everything, you make them your own. Take what I've taught you, try it, and just use all kinds of things to make it happen for you. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of hard work,
But this is the steps to making a face. Using the highlights played against the shadows, making it look real. Well, I wish you a lot of luck. Good airbrushing. Okay, now we've come to the end of the video. Basic anatomy and famous people. Now remember the arm, remember all the colors we used in it. Remember how we created the illusion of black by using browns and purples. Remember the hand. Remember all of the nice wrinkles and stuff that we learned to do. Okay, remember the face, all the highlights and the loose masking and the frisket. Remember all of these things. Remember all the tools that we used. Everything that we've talked about. Watch this video again and again and again until you get all the basic ideas that we've explained. Remember all the colors that exist in the spectrum. They're all at your command. Remember the eyes? Remember? That's the doorway to the soul. That's the way to get everybody to look at it and say, wow, it looks real. Make it a part of you. Make it part of your existence. This artwork is what you've chosen. Whether it's for profit, whether it's for fun, it doesn't matter. Make it yourself. Make it you. Make it come from here. Okay, there's the blank board. Fill it with your imagination. And now I'd like to take some time to thank some of my sponsors, show some of the product that's on the market, some of the product in this video. Okay, first Createx, a brilliant line of colors, great pearlescent colors, great opaque colors. It's good for board work, it's good for t-shirt work. It's an important part of my home studio. And also, keep an eye out for the pure pigment colors. Thayer Chandler just came out with the new Vega 2000, a revolutionary design in airbrushing because of the cutaway handle and easy access to the needle. Fantastic airbrush and a great design from a great company. Golden with their new fluid acrylic line, fantastic wide variety of colors, easy flowing through the airbrush. Don't forget about their acrylic line, which has been around for a long time. Great for mixed media, great for acrylic brushwork. And now Medea, the line of Comart paint, the line of cleaning solutions, and great precision brushes such as the Iwata HPC and the Iwata Micron. It's great precision work. Use them in your home studio. When I want to make a nice hard edge on my board work or anything that I'm working on, I turn to graphics, Frisket, Liquid Frisket, and clear Mylar-based Duralar. I'd like to thank ETC for supplying the Macintosh and the scanner, for which I do a lot of my illustration work, my graphic design, and all my business work. Eberhard Faber, with their fine design markers, color pencils, and watercolor pencils, which is fantastic for board work. When I'm working on an illustration, I don't like to be disturbed by loud noises of other compressors. Silent Air, which has a full line of silent compressors, is absolutely perfect for the job. Whether or not I'm painting a large surface or I'm painting fine detail, Badger makes a brush for the job, including the new Badger Crescendo, which is a fine new brush on the market. Also, Badger's full line of paints and extended line of compressors. When using a projection system, I use the Super AG100 and stand from Artograph, and also their clean air ventilation system in my studio. When selecting the proper board for your illustration work, Crescent definitely makes the right one. Whether it be hot press, cold press, scanner board, Crescent makes them all. Turn to Crescent. Another brush that I use in my studio is the Aztec. Its new plastic lightweight body, easy cleaning capability, makes it a great brush for any illustration needs. When practicing your mixed media techniques, it's important to have a wide variety of color. Barrel offers this with their color pencils and their markers. A unique aspect of airbrushing is sign painting and automotive detailing. When I'm doing any of this, I turn to One Shot by Consumer Paint Factory. With their great variety of colors, you can't go wrong. When making a straight line with the airbrush, sometimes a conventional ruler just doesn't work. That's why the Multi-Rail by Gabe McCubbin is the perfect tool for this circumstance and many others. It's perfect for your home studio. When you want interesting and different surfaces to paint on, turn to Z Products, with such items like blank license plates and wristbands. You know how important Frisket is for an airbrusher. You can't get by without it on any kind of board work. Frisk makes a full line of Frisket, all available for you. For all your referencing needs, from comics to science fiction and fantasy, Great Eastern Comics has what you need. When you're working on an art project and you run out of some sort of art material, and you can't find it at any of your local art stores, turn to Dixie Art Supply. With their full catalog and supply list, you're sure to find what you need. I'd like to offer my thanks and support to the American Airbrush Association. For any information about the association or their newsletter, please contact. I'd like to offer my thanks to the following companies: Seagate Graphics for all the help they've given me in the past few months, The Common Space for providing me with studio, and Color Haven for providing some art supplies.